Good morning, and today we're going to show you how to make soy milk. But before that, I'm Rachel Sanders, and this is my lab assistant, Allison, and we are sponsored by Ohio soybean farmers through the network of GrowNextGen, and you can find all of our labs on grownextgen.org, specifically this particular operating procedure for you today. So what we're going to do today when we make our soy milk is first we want to weigh out our 50 grams of soybeans, which we have already done for you to show the mass size here, but you're going to use an electronic balance, which she has over on her right. And with our 50 grams of soybeans, you are going to want to soak them for 24 hours. We gave you two examples of how to soak them in water over 24 hours. You can either use your plastic bag, make sure you label it so someone on your kit doesn't grab it off your kitchen counter and try to eat them or think they're soy nuts, etc. Or you can put them into a hardware container, or you can use a beaker if you are at school. So those are different ways that you can soak them overnight. Next, we are going to use our glass beaker and some cheesecloth. And we are going to drain the excess water from the soybeans. And she's going to carefully pour it through the cheesecloth. And we're going to allow all the excess water and the beans to drop on top of the cheesecloth. I'm going to place this down for a second. I want you to notice, and I'll move this bag. Next, I want to kind of just show you the difference in the size of the soybean after soaking for 24 hours. So it's held some moisture in there. So we want to know what is that moisture difference. So we are going to now reweigh our soybeans, and Allison's going to get her balance and reweigh so we can kind of mass the amount of water taken in. And we want to kind of collect that data to kind of pay attention. So now we are roughly at 90 grams for our soybeans. So they have taken in about 40 grams of water. Now we are going to be ready to blend them up. So we are going to add in our soybeans. And you can do this right directly into a blender or a bowl, or you have a nice mixing cup and use your immersion blender. We are going to carefully add 200 milliliters of water that we've been warming up to about 195 degrees Celsius so that it will help soften the soybean as she is mixing. Right in there. So now what Allison is going to do is use the immersion blender, and she is going to blend up for about 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, now that you have mixed for about 3 to 4 minutes with your immersion blender, a couple of tips that you want to make sure that you are paying attention to is one, the speed control at the top. You want to make sure you have it as low as possible. Otherwise, it will froth and kind of explode all over your table. Also, just make sure that you keep your tip onto another clean surface. So if you notice, your soy milk is kind of frothy, and it has a little bit of pieces that may have not blended thoroughly, but don't worry, we'll go through and strain this again, but at the end. Now we have to heat them. And the purpose of heating the soybeans in the milk is to break down what's called the trypsin inhibitor. And that is a protein that only single stomachs or monogastrics like us cannot break down. So we need to heat it and denature it so that we can go through and it's easier for us to digest. Also, some people don't know that that's also what causes the beanie taste or beanie flavor of soy milk. So that's where you want to break that down and help with the flavor as well. So what we are going to do now is take more of our warm water, another 200 milliliters, and add it to our sample. So now we're going to mix it around with our 200 milliliters that we just added. We'll pour it into our heat-safe container. And if you're doing this at home, you can do this in a saucepan on a stovetop. And now what we'll need to do Just place it back on our hot plate, and we're going to keep it around 195 degrees Celsius. And you're going to let it sit here and simmer and stir occasionally because you do not want it to burn on the bottom. And you're going to let this go for about 15 minutes of simmering in a constant stir so that you do not get a bunch of burnt particles of your soybeans. As they start to settle, they will settle in the bottom. And then once your simmering is complete, we are going to strain the milk procedure all again so that we have our drinkable soy milk. So now we'll strain back over. And as it's straining, you will notice your blended soybeans at the top, which is what you can keep to make tofu. Then you can wrap up around the sides, give it a little extra squeeze, and add that back into your blender container. So here's the end product of your soy milk from your overnight soaked soybeans. If you would like to find this recipe easily, go to grownextgen.org, and in the search menu, type in make soy milk, and your recipe will pop up for you. We would also like to take the time to thank our soybean farmers for allowing us the opportunity to create curriculum to share with teachers in the state of Ohio.